Good morning, this is Daybreak. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X, formerly Twitter, is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. We'll now get the account of the Mombasa County Governor Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir, who is joining this broadcast live from the county of Mombasa. Governor, thanks for staying with us. Before I come to you, I want us to listen to this soundbite of you talking about the port issue in the county of Mombasa. And here is what you said.
One would ask, why is the process shrouded in secrecy? What is the economic value of the privatization stroke concessioning to Kenyans, the people of Mombasa, the Mombasa County, and the coast region as a whole? Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition does not support the planned privatization or concessioning of the port, and we shall resist it until the issues Kenyans have raised are openly and adequately addressed.
We will never ever allow to be told that things are going on and we don't know the fate of our people. We will not be part and parcel of a conversation that the people of Mombasa have been sidelined in a natural resource that the people of Mombasa and Kenya in general believe and they can see. Kama hawaioni ile bahari kwa Mombasa, wataisikia pengine vipofu.
Okay, we'll be getting to the governor shortly. We have lost the communication line and we'll be getting back to the governor to take his account of that statement he made. Also in his company was the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Honorable Kagusha, I come to you. Earlier on, and this of course extends to Mr. Kithinji, who is the chairperson of the Intergovernmental Relations and Technical Committee. I mean, even as we talk about the clear roles of what belongs to the national government and what belongs to the county government in terms of undertakings, I mean, how then can we address, as we talk about this transfer of functions, duplications and overlaps that are likely going to affect these functions to be undertaken?
We need to have a reality check. And it's interesting that we have what we call the DevCon, Devolution Conference, every year, and what we also call the LEGSAM, Legislative Summit, every year. And we don't seem to have addressed some of these issues that are a bit troubling. Why do I say we need to have a reality check? If you go to the ground, you will find that even though the Constitution had already assigned what functions go to which level of government, the way the functions take place sometimes is a bit different, and probably from experience, some of the functions that are at the county or even at the national ought to probably be swapped. And that is why we say we need to have a reality check, so that we agree what is working with the counties. Let it now remain with the counties. And what is working with the national government, let it be at the national government level. I mean, something like that happened here in Nairobi last time when we had the NMS, where there was, based on Article 187 of the Constitution of Kenya, there was an agreement
to transfer functions.
Yeah, that we as a county now, I don't know whether it was an agreement or it was a forced agreement, but there was a signature that was put somewhere that we as a county, we accept that we are having challenges in dealing with these functions. Let us have them to the national government through NMS to deal with them for the time being. Now, I want to give examples. We have just looked at the issue of health. Now, we have level 5 hospitals and level 4 hospitals. The truth of the matter is, and from my experience, the county governments have not been able to run these facilities well. And you know, the two levels of government exist so that they can serve the citizenry and can be effective and efficient in serving the people of this republic who pay taxes. But as it is now, these two levels of hospitals, that's level 4 and level 5, have not been handled very well by the county government. You find that people do not have drugs in the hospitals. People do not access laboratory services in the hospitals most of the times. And so if you ask me, I'll do the honorable thing, like what Governor Kahiga did with the Olaya Hospital. At some point, he said, now, I don't think we are going to run this hospital. Let us allow the national government to run this hospital. And it was put under
what then leads Honorable Kagusha to such circumstances for the case you have mentioned, and for example, other governors throwing their hands up in there and handing over, I mean, the running of affairs of, for example, as you have mentioned, Othaya Hospital. What could be the cause of these problems and inability by the counties to run some?
Now, if you look at the amount of money the county government of Nyeri is spending on health alone, recurrent expenditure, out of the 7.2 billion that the county of Nyeri has, 2.9 billion Kenya shillings go to the recurrent in the hospitals. And most of these go to the level 5. Now, we have just a few level 4s. We have Karatina, we have Mukurweini, we have Othaya, and now we have added another one in Narumoro, the one that the president did flag of, commission the other day. Now, my problem comes, if the county government of Nyeri is now going to also be running the Narumoro Hospital, which of course they are going to be running, it's going to add so much more recurrent expenditure now into the county government. And you know, this is a new facility, so there is no transfer of funds from the national government. So this is a new facility. So that will make it almost untenable for the county government of Nyeri to render these services to the wananchi. I mean, and it's not because the governor doesn't want, but because there will be limited resources for this. Now, my take on this would be, the national government has come on board and has committed to help the county governments to run on the primary health care, on the issue of the CHVs, now who we are calling the community health promoters, the CHPs now. My take would be, this amount of money the national government is willing and ready to commit to the CHPs gives all of it to the county governments, and let the county governments run that first level of health care in the counties. That is the primary health care, preventive. And then they also run the level 2 and level 3 up to the health centers. Then let the government, the national government, then commit itself on 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. I mean, that's to me should be the take. I also have another example to give you that.
I'll get that example. Let's now engage the governor, who I understand we have re-established our communication channel. Governor, good morning again to you. I want us to listen to this statement you made with regards to the reservations you had on the planned privatization, and this is what you said in the county of Mombasa.
We will never ever allow to be told that things are going on and we don't know the fate of our people. We will not be part and parcel of a conversation that the people of Mombasa have been sidelined in a natural resource that the people of Mombasa and Kenya in general believe and they can see. Kama hawaioni ile bahari kwa Mombasa, wataisikia pengine vipofu.
I mean, Governor, what informs your position to that plan by the national government?
First of all, you can't do something for us without us. You can't talk for us without us. This is an area that has leadership, elected leadership from every single level, regardless of political affiliation. You know, when you start having a conversation and the conversation seems to be very rosy, and then one fine morning you wake up and you just see things being published in newspapers. First thing that I did, I called in the local members of parliament. We usually have a sit-in as leadership within Mombasa, just to try and take development for our people together. And I called in leadership, at least those affiliated to us as a party, which makes us close to about 90-something% of the leadership. And I asked them, ladies and gentlemen, are you guys aware this must have gone to parliament, and you know? And they said, nope, nothing has ever come to parliament. And I asked myself, things are just being done. Whatever it is they're going to call it, privatization. I heard the president say that it is not privatization, it is going to be a concession. The English dictionary describes the word concession as to give away. In terms of business language as well, the word concession is basically to you can lease out services or whatever it is, but it's like having a title deed and being told one is a freehold and the other one is a leasehold. But all said and done, I'm repeating again, no one has ever denied good things for people. But you can't plan for people without the representatives of people, and even the people themselves not knowing what you're planning for them. Yesterday I had a meeting with the dock workers union, who are all in agreement. They as well have not been involved in this whole process. And when I say the dock workers union, from the Secretary General, various, I mean, there were almost the whole team from the dock workers union were in my boardroom yesterday, almost about 19 or 20 of them. And all of them are speaking in one voice. And one, we need to know what is the fate of the employees. You can't just go out. These are people who are living in Mombasa. These are people who've got families here. You can't just wake up. I need to know what is going to be the fate of these people. Two, what is Mombasa's stake in this? I want to tell you, the issue of the port has been used politically for far end, including this same government has been using this matter it's been something that every single year that is always talked about, Tutaregesha Bandari, Mombasa and all that. And I want to be on record. When I was in Parliament, I passed an amendment regardless of my political affiliation, and that amendment was to say that you cannot be able, it was an amendment to the Kenya Merchant Shipping Act. I still am proud of the achievements that I did. I passed it through the National Assembly. Onyonka can be able to bear me witness. I passed it through the Senate. It came back with presidential reservations that no, we can be able to give out these terminals to the private investors and all, but I stood my ground, and I still stand to my ground that Mombasa needs to be able to benefit from the port one way or the other. If we're not going to have this conversation now, if it's going to be an issue of a concession, this is where the danger is. You are planning something without even the representation of the people being involved in that planning, without even the county government involved in any way. We're looking at, God willing, my 10 years in office. If this concession is going to be for about 35 to 40 years, I don't expect a concession anyone to be able to accept for less than that. That means this conversation cannot even be initiated again on the need for Mombasa to be able to benefit from the port for the next 10 years. And then it's going to be the third governor from me, the fourth governor from me, that is if every one of them does like about 10 years. This conversation is going to be started from the fifth governor after me. If every one of us has about 10 years, is when we're going to even start thinking. So let it be known. I mean, we want to know. It's a very, very simple thing. We want to be able to know. It's a conversation that we have had with the president, and I think it is important for the president also to be able to be on the loop that we, as a county government, we are totally not even aware. I've only seen like about 3 or 4 pages of what it is that they intend to do, like a highlight of the whole thing. This is not something that has been presented to the members of parliament. The dock workers union as well, I'm telling you, by yesterday I was with them. They don't know what is going to be their fate in this whole thing. You've got employees, you've got people who are living there, What happens when these guys come up and there's going to be a clause that is going to be there that is going to say that from now onwards, fair enough, we're going to do this, but we don't want any goods that are going to even live from the gates of the port. What is going to be all the subsidiary work that is going to be there? And I've said this, forget about even the constitution, which many people have decided to read otherwise, where ports, ferries and harbors are clearly devolved. Forget even about this particular constitution if you wish to forget and wish to have selective amnesia. Go even further, go to any part of the world, from the developed countries, you know, go to Japan, all the ports in Japan, Yokohama, Miami, Rotterdam, you name it. The port city has a role in the port, and in many ways. One way could have representation in the port. Two, could have a stake, a share in the port. Three, could be owning the port. I was with the director of harbors, and if my memory serves me right, I think it was either Malaysia or Indonesia. I stand to be my apologies on forgetting which country it was, but he came actually to my office, and the first thing that I asked him, what is the relation that you have between yourself as the managers of the ports and the port cities? And he says, look, Governor, we need to be able to accept and appreciate that ports are an integral part. You know, there's social degradation that comes with having a port. There's infrastructure degradation that comes with having a port. There's so much that is involved. There's a day population that is always coming into all these things that we're talking about right now.
Okay, Governor, thank you.
We have a health facility right outside the port.
Thank you, Governor.
We have the cost general. We have everything else. We need to be able to run and have resources. What is so different from about Mombasa than everywhere else?
I take your point, Governor. Thank you. And I just want to follow up because, and we have to save on time here. Senator, I'll come to you briefly. When you met the president, as you have stated, I mean, what were then your proposals to address your grievances? I mean, do you want a role in the operations, even if that happens or transpires? And what was his response when you met him, briefly?
No, actually, I don't think we would want to go into that direction, into the having a role in operations. But what we need to know, what is going to be our stake. I mean, I was so happy. I was smiling when I learned Voi was able to get some revenue from its park. Narok is getting some revenue from its park. We need to be able to get something. We need to run as a county. This is a county that is right now getting about 650 million shillings on a monthly basis. Our salaries alone about 530 after the new taxes that were able to come over. So everything else that we're doing is, everything is 100% on on-source revenue. Everything that we're doing right now, you know, from the NHIF rollout that we've done for more than 16,000 families, to the free feeding program, which no parent pays as long as your child is an ECD owned by the county government. It's 100% paid by the county government of Mombasa. To the bursaries that we've done, to the school mentorship programs that we've done, everything is being run 100%. And my question is, imagine if we're able to be in a situation where we can be able to get some level of funding. Today we can comfortably say, I closed the year with 0 pending bills. It's all just our own source revenues.
Thank you, Governor. That's appreciated. Yes, Senator.
I wanted, first of all, to congratulate my brother, Governor Nasir. The truth is very interesting. If you look at the Kenyan Constitution, Article 196(1)(a), it basically introduces a very simple phenomena in our governance, and that is public participation. And the issue in Mombasa, which is the issue that we're having over these devolved functions and the devolved funds, and basically when you talk about devolution as a structure, why do we find it difficult to talk to the people who are stakeholders in some of these functions? I find it unbelievable that the national government can actually come up. It's like the national government waking up one morning, going to Masai Mara and issuing a press conference from Narok and saying that from now on we are going to take over the Masai Mara National Park, and in fact from then on the funds which are going to be generated, the national government is going to take, and then we will consider what we can do with you after the government has taken over these functions. For me and our side, what we are expecting the government to do, let the government be open in discussing these very critical issues that are affecting our country.
Okay.
And Ayub, let me tell you just three.
Okay.
The one that is talking about the Port of Mombasa. Can the government look for the leadership of the people of Mombasa? Go and sit with them and tell them what you're trying to say. Are you trying to engage the county government of Mombasa in discussing with them the revenues that are going to be generated from the Port of Mombasa? Like he has said, he's not actually, no, he's not saying, I don't think that the county of Mombasa is really interested in running the port. They're not interested. If you want to bring somebody who's coming to run the port, come and tell them how much money they're making.
Okay.
Come and tell the county government, tell Kenyans, we have got somebody who is coming to run the port. This person has made an offer to us. They have told us every single month we'll be generating 30 billion shillings a month. The amount of money we'll generate by the end of the year will be 1.something trillion shillings. Surely, if you look at what we have been offered here and you look at the money we are making now, don't you think this is a good idea? Then they'll ask you, so what is in it for us? Then you negotiate and say, okay, given that we have got ratios on how we have been actually releasing funds to the counties that have got national parks, the counties that are, look at Turkana. I mean, how can, that is the second one that's coming to. How can you have a county that has got oil, that has got gold, that has got, if you go to that place, you cry tears as a Kenyan. And then what do you see? They have no drinking water. You look at their people, they look destitute. They have no health facility that you can call a health facility. Turkana receives the largest amount of money than Nairobi. The only other county that receives more money than Turkana is Nairobi. More than 14 billion shillings a year. You go there, there's nothing that is happening on the ground. You see buildings which have been built. Why would somebody, a governor, build a building costing 990 million shillings in Turkana to be the governor's office? You know, these are the critical issues that I think as Kenyans, we must begin to interrogate ourselves. And where we are today, like my brother Gagusha has said, let us take a proper evaluation on what is it that is working with the county governments. If whatever that the county governments have been given is not working, let us engage the national government and agree with some of those functions can be reversed back. Those ones which are doing well, let the national government release more funds so that implementation can be done. And finally, let us ask our governors to make sure that whatever resources they are getting, they're the ones who are making our counties collapse. Why? Look at what happened, the audit report that came out last week. How can you pay lawyers 996 million shillings for Machakos County? To run cases.
The cost of corruption is very critical. The last component of this discussion. Chairperson, coming to you. For the case of Mombasa, earlier on off the record, you told me about policies which in the end, despite the exclusive functions that both levels of governments need to undertake, still remain with the national government. Yes. In the case of the Port of Mombasa, I mean, the county administration says, involve us. How key is it? I mean, what needs to happen here in this regard, for example?
Well, let me first of all say I can only make that comment not as IGRTC. I can only make it generally in the sense that, I mean, it is not an issue of transfer of functions or not sharing functions, because port, according to the schedule, the port is a national government function. And therefore, you know, the only way that we can have it as a conversation is in the context of the representatives from Mombasa wanting to see Mombasa make some money, make some revenues, and therefore help other services with the revenues from Mombasa, on the assumption that the port is making money and it is in Mombasa. You want to make some of that money, as he has said, just like some other functions. So I can say that I think the crucial thing, and that I think is very clear in the Constitution, the way our system of devolved governance was constructed, it is unique. It is not a federal system. I've seen even academicians say it is a federal system. It isn't. This is a unique model of governance. And the Constitution is very clear that the two levels of government need to be in constant consultation, and they need to cooperate in everything that they do. That is the dictum of the Constitution. That mantra needs to be exercised all out, because in any case, in our system, the same person who the governor of Mombasa is serving is also the same person the president is serving, and they both go to the same person to get their foot. Therefore, for the system of governance to work, our devolved system of governance to work well, there is no doubt the two levels of government needs to work very well. And let me say, from where I start, the current executive, His Excellency the President, and even his deputy, have really engaged the governors in a very extraordinary ways, which was not the case in the previous regime. And therefore, I partly get surprised when some of these things come to me as a surprise, because, as I say, even outside the formal structures, there has been a lot of engagement between His Excellency the President and the governor. That you had His Excellency the Governor there say they have had conversations on the same with His Excellency the President. Only was not sharing with us what was the nature, what was the outcome of that. I think you asked that particular question. So I would say that the points being made here by the honorable members of Parliament, that there is need for a conversation of how can we get our system of devolved governance to work better for Kenya. Because for sure, for Kenya to move at the speed that we need to move, for us to make progress in reducing poverty, in employment, and so forth, we need the system to work better than it has worked so far. But I can say, I think we have a good start in the current regime.
Okay, and the system should be run by Kenyans of integrity who ought to inspire confidence and are accountable, open to criticism, and to create largely an effective model of governance, as you have said, interdependent, the national and the counties. Honorable Kagusha, let's now shift attention to another pertinent point, which is the on-source revenue. And in many aspects, if you flip through the pages of the Auditor General's or the Control of Budgets report, clearly you could say that many counties have fallen short of this. And this, I mean, creating dependency on the national government for the exchequer's release of the money. At some point, that must end, isn't it? So what needs to happen for counties to progress and create and increase their basket of revenue to be self-dependent?
Thank you very much. First, let me just point out on the issue of KPA that I'm sure there has been a lot of consultations between the COG and the executive. I know the president often does meet the COG. And I also know there is a lot of communication that happens between the governors and the office of the president on various issues. And I would want to imagine, rather, let me first of all say that it's very important for every county to be involved on natural resources that exist in their own counties on whatever decision that is going to be made. I agree with the governor, absolutely. But I'm also wondering whether the issue of involvement is what is more important to the governor and the leadership of Mombasa, or they would want to derive some financial benefit, maybe through their own source revenue, probably, or revenue share from the port of Mombasa to the county government of Mombasa, because I think that would really probably be one of the contentious issues, rather than so much of even just participation. Then going to the issue of their own revenue, own source revenue, I would want to point out this. Number one, the counties ought to collect money from rates and not necessarily taxes. The only body that is mandated to collect taxes in Kenya is only the Kenya Revenue Authority. And Kenya Revenue Authority shouldn't be collecting money for the national government. No, it should be collecting money for the two levels of governments. It should collect for the national government and for the county government. And so the issue of whether the issue of thinking that at some point the counties should stop depending on the national government does not arise, because KRA should really not be a national government function or responsibility. It is collecting money for all the levels of government and sharing that money. And in fact, the Constitution actually says that after we have paid our revenue, our loans and debts to the people whom we owe, the next person who should be getting money from KRA is actually the county government. They should get money on priority basis. And so the issue of the collection should be like that. But then the county governments also have the rates to collect. Like they have been given the issue of parking, for example, and those other rates, like the issue of licensing for alcoholic, drinks and such kind of businesses. They are the ones who are supposed to collect those rates. Now, what we need to do is to ensure that we automate that process as much as possible, because we also know that this is a process that has also been misused a lot. You find that a governor was not very liquid before he became a governor, but immediately they become a governor, they become so liquid and they get so much money, and you can automatically see that they're getting another source of money to their own pocket away from their own salaries and what they are entitled to. So what we need to do is to seal these loopholes where this money collected end up getting misused by some of the governors. That is an important aspect. The other issue also is the senator here said, Senator Onyoka said that we have a challenge where governors are also not ready to receive the functions that are being devolved to them. Why? Because some of the governors, what they will do is that immediately they get those functions and the revenues devolved to them, some of them, the funds, some of them are going to be
just
employing people to another layer. What we have seen happen is that every other governor who comes, they employ a new layer of staff. Another governor comes, they employ a new layer of staff. Those who can be sacked are sacked. Then others are employed. Those who cannot be sacked, you find another layer on top. Eventually, what you are finding is that the county governments are becoming a burden to the people of the Republic of Kenya. And so serving the population efficiently and effectively is becoming a big problem. And the people who are actually killing devolution in that regard are actually the same people who are supposed to be safeguarding the devolution. And it's also important to point out that the governors should not just be looking at functions where they are going to be getting funds from the national government. There are some other functions that they are supposed to be carrying out at the ground, even without having to receive any funds, that they need to do. For example, the issue of drug control. I mean, the issue of alcoholism that the Deputy President seems to have taken on very seriously is actually supposed to be a function of the governor.
Thank you.
Are you getting? The governor of Mombasa, for example, the governor of any other place, like even Nyeri and Murang'a, they are the ones who are supposed to be at the forefront fighting drugs and also fighting issues of substance abuse. And we need to see them doing that in terms of licensing, in terms of control, sensitization, and also making bylaws that ensure that it is extremely difficult for you to trade on those illegal stuff at the county level.
Thank you. Governor Abdul Samad, coming to you. Looking at the report by the Controller of Budget, and your highest revenue at 31%, ONSO's revenue comes from the health sector, that is in the county of Mombasa. And you managed to collect 1.24 billion, representing 31%. Vehicle parking fees, for example, is only at 14%, 564 million Kenya shillings. Business permits at 14%, 569 million Kenya shillings. Administrative fees and charges, 630 million at 16%. Other property income rates at 780 million at 20%. I mean, how can you then improve on this? Because if there is a focus, besides you now wanting a fair share of revenue from the port operations, how can you not improve on, for example, parking fees from the current 14%, administrative charges from the current 16%, and other property income rates from the current 20%?
Because I get daily reports on figures that are collected. So when you're reading those figures, they're not adding up to me. They're up to which financial year that you're referring to?
That is the financial year 2022-2023 by the Control of Budget report, which is a focus on all the counties.
Well, it is true. You have to understand 2022-2023 financial year. I think I was only in office for that particular financial year for about 2 months. I wouldn't want to dwell on the past. But the question you need to be asking me is what we have been able to do after this. And I can assure you the figures are way higher than what they are right now. So yes, it is true, 2022, 2023. You also have to understand that's an election financial year. So I'm not saying this in defense of anyone. But I was in office for this particular financial year. I was sworn in sometime in October. So you have to. I was only in office for a very, very short duration during this particular year.
Okay, Governor.
But let me just say it this way.
Yes, please.
The first month of me going into office and second month, there was a huge spike. And even right now, as we're speaking, we've broken records in a number of our own source revenue. I want to congratulate, by the way, it's not my wisdom, I want to congratulate the employees of the county government, but more importantly, I want to congratulate the people of Mombasa for being, despite the fact that we reduced some of these rates for those who are poor, we reduced rates for the PSVs for those again who are poor, but we still managed to collect a record. So I want to congratulate the people for being compliant.
Thank you, Governor. Because you have the mandate of the people of Mombasa County for the next 5 years, God willing, when we head to the ballot, including the people of Mombasa. And to be fair to you, that was the...
God willing should be 10 years.
Okay, but we have no predictive skills and a prophetic look into what will happen in 2027. But let's focus on this further on this report by the Controller of Budget, and it points out a key glaring concern here that your administration must fix because you have the mandate of the people. For example, on borrowing by the county, the report said the outstanding loan balance was 213,371,000 as of 30th of June 2023. This loan facility was, however, not processed in line with Article 212 of the Constitution. This is an outstanding loan the county government of Mombasa had with Equity Bank overdraft of 856 million Kenya shillings, which was converted into a term loan of 745 million Kenya shillings. This clearly is a concern pointed out by the Controller of Budget. How do you intend to fix this?
I've paid the debt.
Are there records to that effect?
Yeah, you could also be able to check with the Controller of Budget, who has actually congratulated us on this. It is true that debt, as you said, and as was in the report, was 856 million. It was meant to be a short term. The reason why we had to convert it into long term is because I needed to pay it. And I've paid this bill. I can comfortably say that as of yesterday, our balance with Equity was not 856, but it was about 30 million. And I've been in office for about a year. 7 days in office, KRA froze my accounts as a county government. 7 days in office, 7 days after being sworn in. Kenya Revenue Authority shut down our accounts because of arrears amounting to almost about 200 and something million, which we paid as well. We've been paying KRA on time since then. So yeah, I can comfortably state that we've paid this debt.
Okay, yes, coming back to studio. Yes. And we also need to sample the feedback. Yes, Senator, you have a point. I'll come to you, Chairperson, as well.
Yeah, I wanted to bring you abreast to the issues that we have got about outsourced revenue. Even when my brother, Governor Nasir, is actually raising the issues about him having spent a short time.
Yeah.
And that's why the revenue most probably came down. That is actually one of the reasons. The other reasons are, number one, immediately when there's a transition, this is what we've discovered in the SIPA committee and indeed in the budget committee where I sit. We have discovered that the transition period, which is about 6 months, and I believe that the law has to do something about that. That period, normally what happens is that you actually have a dipping of the on-source revenue, whether it is the county government collecting rates, whether the money is being collected from the health facilities. And the reason, what we've discovered in our committee, is that you will find the reason why the county governments are having a dip in their revenue is all the governors, once they come in, they then begin setting up their own system on how they collect revenues. And those systems are, if you look at all the county governors in the 47 counties, you'll find like 40 of them are sharing the same system. All right? And like my brother Kagushi has said, why are we not allowing Kenya Revenue Authority collect revenues in the county governments?
Would that streamline the...
Absolutely. I mean, if KRA is able to collect revenue for the national government, why is it difficult that they are not able to collect revenue for the county governments? It is obvious that governors are actually setting up structures to collect the revenues where there is wastage. And this is something for us in the committee, because we are the ones who are defending the devolution and the counties. We are going to make sure that this is a matter we want to be sorted out in finality. If you are talking about, who knows the records of how you pay for your power? Who knows the records of where your house is? Who knows the records about where your shop is? It's KRA. Who would be having the special records which are showing you how the properties and the assets and everything of the county is distributed within your geographical location? Is it KRA? So number one, let us begin discussing, and let us, I would wish we engage the Council of Governors. Let them begin to agree that we must come up with a standardized approach on how we are going to start raising revenue for our counties. Nairobi is already in a mess. Come to the second issue. Look at the health sector. Devolved function. Teacher Service Commission deals with issues of teachers. We must begin to consider the issue that our medical practitioners must have a commission that is going to deal with their issues, which is going to standardize the examinations and the recruitment, so that when we come in as governors, we don't start employing our cousins and our relatives who are most probably less qualified than the ones who are out there who are brilliant, who have nobody to support them.
Thank you.
The last point I wanted to raise for me is very simple. What the governor of Mombasa is talking about, let the governors realize that devolution without responsibility is irrelevant. Devolution without prudence, without proper management of resources, even if we increase the revenues that are going to the county governments ×2, even if every county receives twice what they're getting right now, unless there is prudence, proper management of resources, unless there is integrity, we who are the ones who are talking about salvaging and making sure that the county governments survive are the ones who are killing the county governments. We become governor, you take all the employees who have been employed by the previous governor, you want to fire all of them, all right, so that then you start employing your friends. That was never meant to be a function of the county government.
Thank you. Yes, Chairperson, and then I'll come to Lokagusha.
Two things. One is just to be in the dialogue with my honourable members of parliament, is first of all to caution them that we have to be careful not to reverse devolution in the process of correcting the mistakes which have been done. Because again, we must agree that, okay, mistakes obviously have been done. There are places where there is no integrity in use of resources, but we must not do a reverse. And I'm not talking against, for example, the issue you talked about, Honorable Member for Mukurweini, about, for example, accounting, giving a function to the national government to perform, because even the Constitution envisaged it. But on the other hand, we must not do any wholesale initiatives which reverse the process of devolution. That is important to say. In terms of its own source revenue, let me say in the last summit of His Excellency the President and the governors, His Excellency actually offered to support the governors in getting better results with own source revenues through a more robust integrated revenue management system and digitized system. I am not sure that many governors have necessarily taken it all up as such, but what I also know is that many governors are collaborating with the Controller of Budget and the Commission for Revenue Allocation in terms of digitizing their own source revenues, and many of them are saying they are doing very well. I think also Safaricom has been very involved. Safaricom has a platform for supporting them, and a good number of counties have done it. And I think what remains to be done is therefore to take a lesson from all this and see what is working and what is not working. And I think that is a conversation which we need to be working.
Thank you.
Rather than move backwards, is to see what is not working. But I think also as a nation, and the national government also can do that. Of course, once it goes to the public domain, who is doing well and who is not doing well. Let's remember that governors also seek votes, and therefore they are also answerable to the people. And therefore, to the extent that we know, and that is the kind of work also sometimes as a media you do, you know, so is doing very well. The other one is not doing very well. You know, the day for the governor it will happen with the Wananchi.
Yes.
Where they will tell them, are we together? So the important thing really is we agree things are not perfect.
Yes.
They were never going to be perfect. Let's not roll back devolution.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Let us see what is working well, and let's take the lessons from there, and let's move forward.
Thank you.
Let's not reprimand on governors because some of them have gone wayward, because no system of human beings has everybody doing very well.
Thank you. Yes, briefly.
I want to put this. There are some areas where governors need to do better. These are functions that are already within their purview. We have the VTCs, the vocational training centers. Most of the governors, of course, were relying on grants that were given before, which I think are not given anymore. And I would want to urge the national government to reconsider that. But even with the development money that is available for governors, they should look at the issue of equipping those VTCs. I'm looking at, for example, you have so many vehicles which are in the county yards that are not in use. Let those vehicles be taken to the VTCs so that they can be used for learning by mechanics and those young people. You see, we have a lot of young people who are leaving Form 4 and they don't go to university. That group of young people belong to the governors. They are supposed to take care of them by ensuring that they get skills at the VTCs. But is that happening? Governors are taking the monies for bursaries to the high schools where where CDFs are already paying money, and the national government is already paying. So why is it that you are neglecting your own function to go and run another person's function?
Thank you.
So I would say that they need to do. Then the other issue is the ECDs. ECDs, most of them are in very sorry state. That is a function of the county government. Let them refurbish them and also pay the teachers as per the SRC payment schedule that has been given now. 26,000, 4,000 for commuter, and 3,000. I mean, it is there, it's known. On the issue of the health centers, let us have drugs and lab services working well, because at least on those three issues I have highlighted, there is money, it is devolved, it is exclusive, and it is not in any dispute as to whether these are county government's functions. Let the governors help us on this so that we can have a better citizen.
Thank you, Honorable Kagushia. Governor Abdul Samad, coming to you, and briefly on this final note before we take the feedback of the viewers. In that report by the Control of Budget, because this informs, I mean, the administrative roles that you need to undertake as the Chief Executive Officer of the county. Mombasa County is among the counties that have low absorption rate in terms of development budget in the key recommendations alongside other counties, including Nakuru, Busia, Machakos. I mean, how do you fix this problem? Because from the report, it appears that your absorption rate on development was only 60%. How do you fix the remaining 40%?
You can only be able to do that by two ways. One, if you come in and start being uncouth and being unrealistic, as Senator Onyonka said, by starting to say that you're firing everyone, which I will not do. It is not going to be my place. I would rather fix the problem in another way. One of the major issues in Mombasa is our salaries are amongst the highest. For various reasons. From the advent of devolution, there was an inheritance of a number of employees. I started by telling you as well, we are paying employees right now for doing work in casinos, and all reports are going to national government, while zero funding is coming to the county governments. But other than that, the only other way that we can be able to increase our absorption is by ensuring that our on-source revenue goes higher. Then there is no other arithmetic to it. It's as simple as that. You can only be able to increase development figures if your percentage is going to be at par. And that's the reason why that has been the case. But I want to be on record and I want to state it. Whoever was hired before me being in office, my role is to make sure right now that I will turn that particular employee, unless that person does not want to go into that direction, I will have to turn that employee to be as productive as possible, so that if we can be able to make most use of our human resource. And I say this to my employees all the time. Our biggest asset should not be our biggest liability. Our biggest asset is the human force, and that is the reason why our own source revenue has increased right now, because we've deployed a number of people to go into revenue functions. So that is the direction that we're taking as a county government. But I'd like to say a few things, permitting, and it would be important. Hopefully next time I'm in Nairobi, I'd be able to be in the studio live. But I've heard a lot of things, and a lot of people saying, some governors have gone into office and they've become this big and this big. But at the same time, we've got some people as well who were first-time members of parliament. They've become big as well. Does not mean that the fault is with the office, but the bearer of the office. Just because you've got a corruption case, let it be dealt with as a corruption case of an individual. Okay. You cannot start targeting a whole institution by saying that. And equally as well, I heard something that we need to concentrate on drugs. Actually, the county government does not license drugs. The county government only licenses alcoholic and bars places. But I'm glad he brought the issue of drugs. This is solely the responsibility of the national government.
Thank you, Governor.
They're the ones with the guns, not me.
Okay, Governor.
Could I respond?
Yes, the time is out. One final question to the Governor before we take the feedback, because we are running out of time. Governor, still another hurdle on your way is the problem of the pending bills. And after Nairobi County, which is at 107.33 billion Kenya shillings, Mombasa County is among the counties with more than 1 billion Kenya shillings in pending bills. This is as at June last year.
Higher than that.
Yep. I mean,
the figure is way
how do you pay
but
the?
What I have done.
Governor, hang on. Okay, Governor, just hang on. Let me finish, and then you can respond. How do you then address? How do you then address the issue of pending bill? Your county ranks among the highest with more than 1 billion. I mean, how do you address the eligible pending bills?
Okay, and that's why I said what it is that we've tried to do. One, the credit rating of the county government of Mombasa right now has gone above board. I mean, we are really, thank God, like I said, I want to thank the employees of the county government and the people of Mombasa. Our credit rating has really gone high. And in the process of that, I approached some financial institutions, and I asked them, if I seek the removal of interest and penalties and invoice discounting from some of these genuine suppliers, are you guys willing to be able to pay upfront, and I give you a payment plan? And 3 banks have already confirmed. I can comfortably say that Kenya Commercial Bank is one of them, that have confirmed that yes, with your track record, we are more than willing to be able to pay all these pending bills. Then you pay us slowly. I have given a commitment to Treasury, and I've told Treasury, allow me to be able to negotiate with everyone who has genuine pending bills. We remove the elements of interest, we remove the elements of penalties, and we remove excess payments that need to be made. So that means we ask for invoice discounting. This is normal.
Thank you.
And I tell whoever needs to be paid, this is the amount of money that we are going to pay you upfront.
Thank you.
And I handle it with the bank, and I've given a commitment, and I've said that the amount of money that we will pay the bank over 3 years or 4 years, including the interest at the bank, because of the negotiations that we would have done, will end up being less than what the current pending bills are. Unfortunately, my first letter took about 3 months to be replied. I had to follow it up again. They've responded back by saying that please follow the PFM, which again, even that in itself is not very clear on how we're meant to do that. I've had a word with the Attorney General on the interpretation of what that law is meant to be. And I've had a word as well with the Speaker of the Honorable House of the Senate.
Thank you.
Asking them to be to allow us to be able to start engaging on these matters. We really want to pay the spending bills.
Okay.
If I inject 3 billion or 4 billion shillings at a go in the economy of Mombasa, you can imagine. And by the way, if this works, and I feel that it will work, if this works, this is what is going to be emulated throughout the whole country.
Thank you, Governor. Your time is all appreciated. Gentlemen, let's now sample the feedback because we engaged the Kenyan people. Here's what you are saying on X. The hashtag is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. The first one coming from Babu Michelle KE. Transfer of all functions, he says, that ought to be done with the county governments as stipulated in the constitution. Isn't a favor to the counties, but it's good. The president has thought about it. The questions are the counties ready to manage the functions? Engineer Lazaro says transfer of county functions and resources should go uniformly in order to avoid chaos and confusions. Otherwise, transferring functions minus resources would be just like using counties as a scapegoat. Remy Butia says the national government should fully transfer health financing for universal health care coverage, provision of adequate essential health commodities and emergency service delivery preparedness. Bob Otieno Owino says transfer of other functions to the counties will be an uphill task. Look at health ministries, they have failed miserably, and if you add then education and security, it will be hell broke loose. Evans Wanyela one said devolved functions like health and ECDE education should be transferred back to the national government in order to enhance effective service delivery. And the last one here comes from Ogira_Jasper says county governments have not failed to run their health function. Reason for the failure is that the national government did not let money follow functions. Let us implement devolution fully, i.e. money follow functions. Why the duplicity on the universal health care coverage? Gentlemen, your time is all appreciated. Because of time, we can't take your further accounts, but it's a discussion.
There's some information for the governor.
Okay, and just on a factual note before I
one wrong fact.
Here, that is, the governor made the statement in regards to drugs control, and the control of drugs and pornography is an exclusive function of the county governments, and that is on a factual note of the clear roles that the national government and the counties have of that statement made by the governor of Mombasa. Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir, the governor of Mombasa County, joined us virtually here on set. Thank you for your time, Governor. Much appreciated. The chairperson of the Intergovernmental Relations and Technical Committee, Kithinji Kiragu, was us in studio. Thank you, Chairperson. Further discussions will be upcoming. And also John Kagushia, who is the lawmaker representing Mukurweini constituency, the county of Nyeri, formerly the Speaker of the County Assembly. Thank you for your time. As well as Senator Richard Onyonka, who sits at the house that is the guardrail of the devolved system of governance, the county senator, Kisii County. Thank you. Your time is all appreciated. Thanks for watching us well and waking up with us here on the broadcast. We'll see you tomorrow morning here on the broadcast at the same time. Good morning.
Just for you to know.